Hi everybody, I'm Bree the Plant Lady, and today I'm excited to share my front garden renovation. My productivity in the garden has been a little lacking this week. It's been very hot. I've been on the computer, but I am going to try and take this border on today, and I'm going to time-lapse my progress to show you. Now this is all stuff that Joe Lampel and I planted back in the very beginning of June, and a lot of the plants are doing super well. Basically what I have is I'm going to call it an infestation of daikon radish, which are self-sown in this bed. And I harvested a few of this week because they're a great size. They're super spicy. So let me pull one out. You see, they're like a perfect size for eating, but you really have to slice them thin because unlike their flavor in the cool season, they're really spicy now. Almost like wasabi type spice. So anyhow, last Saturday, 4th of July, I did just this tiny little section, but you know, it looks so neat and organized, and you know, it didn't take long because it's just a few square feet. But my goal is to get this all organized today so that this bed will start to make more sense and really celebrate this beautiful pathway that we have now. So I'm going to start with mulching the areas that I did last week. I didn't have mulch last week, but I do now. And yeah, I'm going to tackle this in spite of the heat. I'm just going to keep drinking lots and lots of water. All right, so stay tuned for my progress. This is like the second time this year that I'm renovating this bed. Sometimes when you're renovating a bed, you have to make some hard decisions and remove some trees and shrubs that you love because they're not in the right place. So these little caterpillars, not even caterpillars, they're the larvae of sawflies, is the reason that I'm taking this deodar cedar out. This is a wonderful dwarf variety called Feelin' Blue, and I've been emotionally connected to it for 9 years, ever since I planted it. But I just cannot keep up with the sawflies, and I've actually removed my other deodar cedars for the same purpose. And this is one that I can totally find from online sources, and I could replant it somewhere more logical than where I had this. But just to give you an understanding of why I ruthlessly cut this beautiful conifer down, it's because of these guys. It's amazing how much more open the garden looks when you remove some plants. Now my next step is to remove all the self-sown daikon radish and dig out this horrible Ruellia bretoniana. I think all gardeners can relate. When you plant something that becomes a huge problem and then you put it off because you know it's not going to be an enjoyable experience to get it out. And that is precisely what I'm dealing with in this bed with this stupid, god-awful Ruellia. Would never, ever recommend planting this to anyone. I think this actually slipped in on something that I was transplanting from my old garden because I'm positive 9 years ago I already knew that this was a nightmare, and my digging it out is just like step one. I mean, this is just gonna grow right back because I'm certainly not getting all the roots, and yeah, this is really one of the reasons why I like to stick with a tree and shrub and annual herbaceous palette, because so many perennials become invasive. And people will argue with me about this all day long, but I have proof here in my garden. Things like Ruellia and sedum and phlox and monarda are just a few. You know, I have tons of things that don't die and continue to spread, and I just regret having them in here at all, because this would be so much easier if this was just herbaceous annuals that died, you know, whether it was hot or cold. And that is why I am sticking to an annual palette, and I am not going to indulge in any more perennial plants. It is way easier to plant a tiny thing twice a year than it is to wrangle crap like this. So there's a lesson from Bree today. No more Ruellia.
Before you get too mad at me, you just have to understand, I really love being able to change my garden seasonally, which makes growing annuals a much more logical decision.
All right, so I've gotten the Ruellia pulled out as well as I can. I know it's gonna come back, but I'll deal with it when it comes back. The rest of this bed is starting to make more sense. Now I have to dig all this grass out from along this edge, and I'm actually going to transplant some of that to the other side because you see there's this big dip, and so I'm going to build that up using sand, and over time allow the turf to, run up through it. So I'm going to wait and do more of this when it cools down, because it's the middle of the day, it's full sun, and it's with the heat index like 106 today. And there's just no reason to torment yourself, particularly as a home gardener. I can come back to this, and I bet by the end of the weekend I'll have this mulched and replanted, and it'll all make so much more sense, and I won't be so self-conscious about it. Well, I've been making more progress. Got the grass dug from this side and transplanted to this side, and added sand and soil cube. So hopefully this will have, a good enough slope to be able to mow against. I still have, a section down there that I haven't gotten to yet, but, it's a work in progress. I'm actually planning on expanding this bed to this joint here. So that's going to give me more turf to be able to transplant through this area. And I just have a few more wheelbarrows of soil cube to put in, and I will have this bed kind of reshaped, and then I'll start getting it planted again.
By transplanting the globe basil, I was able to accentuate the new patio area. And it's always so remarkable what a difference a light layer of mulch will do for a garden. I like to use triple shred hardwood because it breaks down and ultimately adds organic matter.
All right, we've gotten the bed filled with soil cube, mulched, and now it's ready to be planted. I've been holding on to all these things in my greenhouse for so long, just thrilled to get them finally in the ground. And Aiden's over here working really hard to dig out all this sod so that we can extend this bed, and then we will use that grass that he's digging to build up the side of this sidewalk. So it'll have a gentle slope, like over here. It'll be easy to mow.
It takes a village sometimes to get a major landscape renovation completed. And in the middle of the summer, I highly recommend that you work in the evenings, take advantage of the cooler temperatures.
I'm thrilled to share the final planting of the front bed. It's taken a few weeks. So I did plant the mycrete basil across the edge. That helps keep things like rabbits and groundhogs from going in and eating everything else. You see these tomatoes are doing really well. I've added an additional cattle fence, and I kept one giant squash over there in the middle. I do have some corn to still seed in areas. I planted tobacco because this used to be a tobacco field, and I like to pay homage to the agriculture that used to exist. And so it's really kind of nice and full and lush, and I'm going to throw out some plant tone
And hopefully that's going to really get everything growing fast and sort of catch up for the summer season. And I was so lucky because Aiden came and dug all the sod out for me last night. It's right there. And so I'm going to get this planted next. And I'm going to layer this sod along the edge of the sidewalk. And I think I'll be able to call this project done. I'm thrilled. It's like, feels like it's been all summer that I've been working on this, but you know, the concrete is not even 2 weeks old. So I think we've made a lot of progress in a rather short amount of time. Our final step is to bring in sand so that we can start layering the sod that Aiden removed from the bed expansion. This is a great experience for all of us, as none of us have really dealt with turf in any major capacity. The goal is to create an angle that will enable the lawnmower to actually be able to ride on it. We may still have some work to do, but for now, we're calling this done. I hope you've enjoyed seeing our garden renovation. Thanks for watching.